Alright, so the time has finally come for painting. Now as you can see, I have my parts stuck onto a box lid. You don't have to do this. Some people use styrofoam, some people use hanging clips, whatever technique. I use the box because it gives me a layer, or basically a place where excess paint can be spilled and all that. Below that I have a drop cloth, and then I have another box for catch any back spray. Now, first thing you're going to need to do is attach your airbrush to your air supply. This can be a compressor or canned air. Turn it on. Now, in the last video you saw that I had put my paint in, but I didn't mix it. Now this is why. If you hold your finger over the nozzle as such, and then press down and draw back. I can do this very carefully. Well, I can't really show it, but not a paint I have. But if you do this, it will cause a backflow of air in. To the airbrush, and basically causing the paint to sort of mix on its own. Now you want to do this for a few seconds so as to allow the paint to get pretty well mixed. And you also notice I'm wearing a glove now, as I don't want to get any paint on this hand since I'll be holding the sprue parts. And what's also nice is you can then just do a quick little test to see the consistency of the paint, see if it's going on the way it needs to. Once that is done, close off your airbrush and you're ready to go. Now, since I am shooting acrylics, I'm going to be using a respirator, as acrylic paint is not good for you. And in general, you want to do this if you're using enamels as well. You can get away with it without using one if you're shooting acrylics, though you really should be using one. Okay. Now, first up, take the part. Alright, so as you can kind of see, I'm basically going to first spray on a relatively light coat onto whatever part I'm working on, and then follow that up with a heavier coat. This gives a good base for the paint to first grab onto, and then subsequently you can then fill in any missed spots and basically build up the paint in layers. In general, you want to keep your airbrush moving at all times. You don't want to stay in any one spot for any long period of time, as paint will very quickly start to pool up, and overall that will give a really poor looking finish, and as you'll basically have paint running and you'll basically be wasting money. With odd shaped parts, this is a little harder. It's basically you want to try and get as many nooks and crannies as you can, but at the same time, again, you don't want to stay in any one spot for an extended period. So what you want to do is probably give a couple of good passes and then come back to any one particular area. You also want to occasionally check your paint reserve, just because it's a good idea, so as to ensure you're not out of paint, and to basically judge how much more painting you'll be able to do. Unfortunately, I underestimated the amount of paint I needed for this particular part, but yeah, it's not that difficult to go and refill your paint jar. And so why I don't show it, I eventually do run out of paint, and I do go in, refill it, and come back and finish it. And yeah, at this point I'm right now just trying to very quickly get as much as I can done and shown. Unfortunately, I can't get the camera in closer, obviously, because I don't want to get any paint on it. I think what else, but in general, you want to just keep moving, just keep moving your airbrush, keep it more or less level as much as you can, and just, at least at this point, just keep moving, and yeah. Alright, so I finished priming all the parts for now, and so now it's time to clean your airbrush. Now, for this part you need to basically fill your brush with thinner, and either buy a dedicated sort of, I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but basically you need a storage container of some kind. For this I'm using just a paint jar. Now, basically turn on your air supply, and you're going to basically draw first, just toggle your airbrush trigger a couple of times so as to get some thinner on it and drawn back to the areas where you're not going to be able to really reach. Once you do that, you're going to do what you did before to get some mixing, and just hold it there for 2 seconds. This will get rid of any paint in the draw cup. Alright. Now, once that's done, you just take your container, you're going to fill it and just let it run through. Now this will basically clean out the inner workings of your airbrush, and you may want to just also toggle it a couple times so as to just ensure you get as much paint out of the back areas and needle as you can. Now, I took my respirator off just so I can tell you how to do this part, but in general, when you're doing this, you still want to have that protection on, as you're still going to have a lot of fumes. Alright? And that's that. Once you're done, you can just pour the what's left down the drain, and you're good to go. So yeah, now that those are primed and done, next time I'll come back and talk about the results.